huge crowd.
All right,
And I am
you're live.
apparently. I just got the signal that I'm live. So I want to welcome everybody that's showing up for Coffee with Mayor. And if you are online, I will welcome you as well. It's cold outside, so hopefully you have your snuggly onesie on and are drinking some coffee and having a donut at your house if you're online. If you're here, we got donut coffee, we got donuts, coffee and donuts here. So there's still time to come down. If we have some people that are interested when we're done with Coffee with the Mayor, we'll give a little tour of the wastewater treatment facility. And it is so exciting and so much fun to see. I used to give tours of wastewater treatment facilities when I was in graduate school, so it was fun. So we can have some good jokes about it, but I'm not going to do that right here. So anyway, I'm trying to be nice today because, in case y'all haven't heard yet, there was a football game last night. I almost said baseball for some reason, but there was a football game last night, and Bryant beat Conway 32-29. It was down to the wire. Nobody was sure if Bryant was going to pull it out, but they finally stepped up and did what they normally do, like a championship team does. So now it's playoff time. And I believe this means Bryant now has home seat advantage, or home seat, yeah.
Yes.
So they get to play their games at home. So when that happens, come on out to the stadium and cheer them on. This is a chance for the Bryant Hornets to have 4 consecutive state championships, which that's probably unheard of.
First time in history.
So, we're history makers here in Bryant, if you didn't know. A couple other things I want to remind everybody this evening, you need to set your clocks back an hour if they don't do so automatically, because it's that time of the year. So you know what that means. Everybody's going to be tired on Monday morning. Everybody's going to be tired because their clocks are all jacked up. And so be careful when you're out on the roads, because that's when a lot of accidents happen, is when these time changes occur. So be cautious of that. A couple of projects I want to bring up. I don't know what's going on with it. A couple of projects I want to bring up. We're going to talk about some public works projects, but there's some parks projects I want to bring up as well. In case you have not heard, if you're in the area of Stillman Loop in that area, Spring Hill Park renovations have finally started. They're anticipated to be done by Christmas. I'm going to go by over there early next week and get a check and see what they've done. I think they may have already taken out all the equipment, but I don't know yet.
Okay.
So haven't? Okay. I guess you live over in that area.
You live right there on Spring Hill.
Good deal. I'm excited about that because that playground has been needing some repairs for a long time, and it's needed a fence to help block the road a little bit for a little better safety for the kids playing there. The trail in Alcoa 40 Park, I believe, is now complete as well. As far as we can get it now until we start building on the parkway, which will happen probably late this year, early next year. We're still waiting on Union Pacific, which I'm going to call them and see if I can't push them a little bit more this next week, because they're slow rolling this a little bit again. The pool renovations, all those got done, so the pool's been open for a while. They're starting swim practices and stuff like that again, I believe. And I don't know of any other parks projects that are here. My director of parks was going to be here, but he got otherwise detained, I shall say. Something about a game on a hill. I don't know. Free tickets, something like that. But anyway, it's okay. So if you're watching, Chris, I got my eye on you. I'll be looking for you. So make sure you hold a sign up that says Mayor Scott, okay?
Alan Scott. Mayor Alan Scott.
Well, yeah. I don't know what it means. It's all right. I forget sometimes there are 2 Mayor Scotts in Arkansas now. Moving on to some public works stuff. There is a lot of stuff that's happening in public works, and they have been this year, and they're continuing through the end of this year and through next year. There's been some headaches that we've had, and we've been dealing with that for several months. I want to talk about that a little bit as well. One of the big things I want to bring up again, in case you have not heard, Parkway and Highway 5. The State Department of Transportation has given us approval to put a temporary light in there. Now, what does that temporary light mean? It means that when they do the widening project in several years in that area, they will put a permanent light in with the metal arms and stuff like that out. This one has span wires. So we've actually already gone out there and put in the poles that hold those span wires and stuff. So we're rapidly progressing on that project, and I would anticipate that project being done by probably early December, maybe mid-December, don't you
That's
think?
about right, yeah. And it is built outside of the construction limits for the widening, so the signal will stay there as the construction.
Right. Which will be beneficial for the construction as well. As Tim said, the signal will stay there during construction. So, I mean, I'm glad that everybody stepped up when we needed you to on that public comment period. That's really what, for that widening project, that's really what sent RDOT over the edge and allowed us to get this pushed through. Because without the public's assistance in that, we would have still been in the situation where we were, several months ago, not having it. So that's good. I appreciate that. Highway 5 current construction that's happening now around Spring Hill Road, up and down, almost Alcoa, and all the way to Reynolds Road. RDOT has said that that's supposed to be done by April of 2022. I do know they're working fast and furious right now on that, and I do know it causes some headaches for people, but if you can bear with RDOT, please do so, because unfortunately it's out of our control since it's a state highway. But once it's done, it'll be nice. And as we all know, when you have construction zones, it's always a headache. If you don't believe me, drive on 430 across the river bridge, or 30 crossing that bridge. It's just crazy. Anyway, I don't like construction zones, but they're necessary evil. We had a lot of several stormwater projects. I'm gonna let Tim tell about a couple of them if he has any that he wants to bring up in particular.
The current one going on is going to be the Hilltop and Springhill intersection. Redstone is the contractor, and they have mobilized. You'll also see temporary signals up there for flagging purposes. It'll take the existing culvert system and put box culverts in, or some utilities relocate. So it'll be a little bit of congestion for a while, but we have to ask them to make sure they allow traffic to move as quickly as possible. But it should hopefully be done by the end of this year, if not early next year.
And we are going to, we're getting that done as quickly as possible, of course, but we have, certain constraints to deal with. And that is making sure those roads stay open, because that is a major artery for the city, for people coming in from that area. So we can't totally block that road off and give alternate routes. We'll occasionally have to do that, but I think it's going to be during off-peak hours. If we have to do that, if that's correct, and maybe overnight.
That's correct.
So when that happens, we'll also let the police know. So just police are here too, so in case you can't see him, he's kind of hiding off screen probably. He's incognito in his room. So it's all good. We will be doing one on Hilltop as well. Not Hilltop, but North Lake eventually, probably this next year, you think?
Yeah, North Lake
Which drainage is happening?
North Lake, the low water it's a culvert system on the bottom of the hill that takes water over the road all the time. We have it designed. We're chasing a BERT grant for it right now because it's a very expensive project, but it is something that will need to be done one way or another.
Yeah. That's one of the problems with this, and of course that's a priority project because there is a little bit of failure starting to happen in that area. So we want to make sure we get that fixed before that failure occurs. It'd be really bad if the road collapsed in there.
The Rain Tree project should be finishing up here soon. So the residents of Rain Tree, Flame Tree, Patio area know our contractor's been there for several weeks, so hopefully that'll start to finish up and they'll get out of the way.
We're trying, and again, we've prioritized these projects as based on houses historically that have flooded in the past and how to improve those drainages. And as we get these done, of course, we reassess everything and reprioritize projects as well. So we're going to continue on. Once these are done, there's going to be other projects. The city never stops with projects, let's be real. The trick is we continually strive to find the funds for those projects, be it through grants or whatever else. I know there was an infrastructure bill that was passed by the House last night that I was reading about this morning, and that may be able to provide some funding for cities as well for some of these infrastructure projects. But that's still early. We don't know about that yet. But once we get that information, and if we can get that money, we'll be pursuing whatever we can. You want to talk about the fun stuff like water, wastewater?
Sure. So everybody knows we've been having billing issues between Mueller, Springbrook, and the nodes. So hopefully that'll be pretty much settled out on your November bill. So hopefully we'll have that all sorted out. I did say the other day in the meeting that if you have the customer portal through Mueller, it'll no longer be available as of December 31st, 2021. They have said they will have another option. The city does not know what that option is at this point. So their intention is to reach out to the customer. Wastewater has been super busy. If you live over in Spring Hill, Stillman Loop, Justice Loop area, you've seen us over there for quite some time. You'll see us over there for probably the next 6 to 9 months, upgrading lines over there. They did about 1,000-foot open cut rehabilitation project a few weeks ago, so they're turning and burning pretty quick, getting some stuff upgraded. They got some manholes to redo. We just had some more basin studies done that will bring more repairs and more convenience out of our current sewer system. We did some upgrades to the water treatment plant this year and have some planned for next year also. So yeah, we're moving in a positive direction, that's for sure.
The nice thing about the wastewater projects is a lot of those we're doing in-house, so it's actually a money saving deal for us. So we can actually, save money on a project and then use that money for another project so we can get more bang for the buck, as we said.
Yeah. We got council earlier this year to buy a significant amount of HDP pipe, which is that sewer pipe right there, the grade.
Probably can't see it, but
The grade.
I don't know, I can't see what's on the screen.
So regardless of what the market does next year, we'll have enough pipe to perform all our jobs for next year. So we'll have to worry about the solar for at least a year.
We got prior knowledge that the prices that were going up, so we pre-bought.
And we've had vendors come back and try to buy it back from us.
Not selling, sorry. We'll be mean to you, that will sell it for about 6 times the cost, or 10 times the cost. Let's just get them ones, get that. To visit back on a water meter issue with Mueller and stuff, just to give a little synopsis on what had happened. A number of months ago, we had a large number of nodes fail, and if you go to your water meter to understand what that is, it's a little gray thing. It's on the water meter up there, but it's a little gray thing that's really just a transmitter. It transmits the data from your water meter to a repeater, and then it's downloaded into our system, and we can read that, and that's how we use what we get the reads from to do your bill. But here it is. Here's one of the nodes. As you can see, it's nice and dirty because it has been used. But this is the part that's failed. It's not the meter that's the problem. It's the node that's been the problem. So it hadn't been it quit reading. And we have about 8,000 or 9,000 nodes in the city. We had about half of those failed. And with the staff that we have, there's no way we could read them all. So we wound up having to do some estimating, which wound up not being a very good way to do it. Because the way our system estimates your bill is it goes back, if you're in August of 2021, it goes back and looks and says, oh, what was your usage in August of 2020? And we'll base it on that. Sometimes if you have consistent usage, that's not so bad. But if you happen to have moved into your house after that August, it goes back to who was there, and you might have had a house full of 12 people, and you might be a house of 2, so you get a really big bill, and that causes some issues. And the other way we wind up doing is doing what's called minimal billing, which means if your meter cannot be read, we just basically charge you a minimum amount of money. And then we went in, once we were able to get those meters, some of those nodes up, and we were able to get reads, or we go do a manual read, we get that number, and we look at the last manual or last read we had, and that number, and we say, okay, you've used this much water, then we divide it by the number of months of usage, and then we take out also the amount that you've already paid for that bill. So if you paid that minimum billing, we take out the 2,000 gallons here, 2,000 gallons for however many months that is, and that gets you an adjusted bill. At times, it's caused some problems for residents. People have received large bills because basically it caught up on their usage if they had minimal billing time. And that can be a financial hardship. one of the things that we do as a city to help mitigate that financial hardship is you're welcome to come in and set up a payment plan if you can't pay that amount. And you used to basically tell us how much you can pay a month, and then we set that out. There's no service charges, no late fees, or anything else associated with that payment plan. So it's a good way to pay it out if you need to, and we will work with you. So if you have an issue with your water bill, please call and let us know. And you have a question, we'll look into it and make sure that it wasn't a leak or something, because if it's a leak, it can be adjusted out. The water committee can make those adjustments. If it's not a leak and it's just catching up on usage, then we can set you up on a payment plan if you need to. Either way, we're going to work with you, but please call in and let us know, because if we don't know that you're having an issue, we can't help you with that issue. And when you call in, I just ask that the people you call in are the ladies in water billing, and they're not the ones that are out reading meters or anything else like that. They know some of the issues, but they can't tell exactly what's going on in your house either. So be nice, and we'll research it and do what we'll try to figure out and work together and try to figure out what's wrong. And as we're working through it, you won't have to worry about your water being cut off. Because if we're working with you, then we know you're striving to do something proactive, so we're going to help you. Let's see, what else do I have I need to talk about? What do I do with my sheet of papers right here? I think that's really about it on the projects. Can you think of anything that I missed, Dana? I mean, Thanksgiving's coming up, so.
City offices will be closed.
That's right. The 11th of November, Thursday, will be closed for Veterans Day.
And then Thanksgiving
And
the day
Thanksgiving,
after.
Thursday and Friday.
The city council meetings for November and December are moved up.
Yeah, that's right.
November's the 16th.
November's the 16th for city council, and I think it's the 14th for December.
Yeah, and they are on the city website calendar if they want to go check.
They're on the website calendar, as Dana said, which is good. I forgot about that. Which means that we're moving along in the city. We'll do a budget. Our 2021 budget approval will happen in December, and that's in accordance with state law. So you have to have an adopted balanced city budget. Can't think of anything else off the top. Truett, you got anything from planning that you can think of? Any cool things that are happening?
Yeah, we got some cool things in the works, but nothing I can talk about.
You heard it. Cool things in the works, but nothing you talk about. And I understand that, because if you talk about them, then those cool things might not happen. Because people get scared when you start talking about their cool things before they want to talk about their cool things.
Yeah, the November newsletter is all about connecting with us. And
Yes.
so, if you could touch on like all the different ways from social media, website.
Absolutely, good ideas. Dana just brought up the November newsletter that you get. It'll be online as well. So if you don't get something mailed to you, it'll be online. You can look at it. It's all about connecting to us. It tells you how to set up, get into Notify Me, how to get notifications for the different meetings, how to report a concern, all this stuff. I mean, it is a way to get really plugged into the city. And if you are not plugged into the city, we would like you to be plugged into the city. We like input from you. And honestly, we like the good input and we like the bad input. We like the good better than the bad. That's what everybody does, right? But we all understand there are certain times when our job needs to be critiqued, and we accept those criticisms as we get them, and we strive to improve, because that's how you improve. Can't think of anything else with regard to that. One thing I want to touch up, and me and Tim's going to talk about a little bit, is this wastewater treatment plant that we're in. We're at the Public Works facility, which is at the wastewater treatment plant. Basically, a lot of people have expressed concerns on their water bills. Well, why is my sewer so high? Why is it so much more than the water? Well, if you think about it, and you may not, but I do. This is the cool stuff I like to think about sometimes. When you get your water out of the faucet, what happens? For us right now, we get our water, we buy it from Central Arkansas Water, and they get that water out of Lake Maumelle and Lake Winona, I believe, is the two sources they get it from. And they take that water and they treat it, they chlorinate it, and then that's all they have to do is basically chlorinate it and pump it through their system, and it comes out your tap. So there's minimal treatment that has to be done on that. Unfortunately, though, when you use that water and you flush your toilet, there's a lot of stuff that's put in that water. It could be, you might have flushed some medicines down the drain, which you really shouldn't do. You should dispose of them in a different way, because it does contaminate the water. If you use the bathroom, there's fecal material and urine and a variety of other things in that water. And it is very expensive to clean that stuff out. It raises, I would imagine it raises the pH, or does it lower the pH on that? I don't know either. But it makes it corrosive for sure. So I would say lower the pH in that water. And so you have to treat it. What happens in here is what happens in the treatment. In the treatment plant, it takes out the solid chunks that make it here. And then it takes it to another place where it's called an equalization basin, where it kind of helps speed the water into the aeration basins, which basically has bacteria in there, and they eat the poo and the waste matter and stuff like that. And then it's filtered out and it's cleaned. And believe it or not, the water that you flush down the toilet, when we discharge it in a creek back here, it has to be as clean as the drinking water you get out of your faucet. So that is very expensive to do. It's
just not what you flush down your toilet. It's anything that goes down any single drain in your house.
Yeah. So yeah, if you having to pour some cooking oil in your drain, it can cause a problem. If you flush wipes down the drain, it causes problems on us. And baby wipes, those moist wipes, they cause problems. They say they're biodegradable and they're flushable. Yeah, they're flushable because you flush them down the drain, but they don't break down very easily. And they make clumps and they cause clogs and then they cause overflows. And that causes the state to come after us. And then we get into trouble and then we have to do more and it costs more money. So the better you can take care of your stuff, the better we can take care of your stuff as well. So. Does anybody have any questions? I know I've just kind of rambled on for a little bit, about 20, 30 minutes here.
Yeah. And Tim's up next. Remember, he's got a whole show and tell.
Oh, Tim's going to do show and tell. He says he didn't sign up for that part, so he can show and tell me.
The only question I have is the Spring Hill Park that they are working on.
Yes.
Do they plan on putting up some type of lighting for that park?
I believe that is part of the plan. We've reached out to, I don't know who the energy provider is, but we're looking at maybe a night watchman over there or something like that.
Because we drive through that
Yes.
area regularly to cut off, and there's shadiness going on over there with parked vehicles on a regular basis.
Yes, ma'am, and that's one of the reasons I'm hoping that this upgrade will help with that, because a lot of times when a place like that becomes
See,
not so nice,
right,
it attracts the wrong crowd.
absolutely.
Same thing happened to Ashley Park before we did the upgrades there. There was vandalism that happened there regularly, just some bad nefarious stuff. But since we've done our upgrades and put in the playground there and cleaned it up and redid the fields and the lighting and stuff like that, then as far as I know, we've not had any trouble with vandalism. So I'm hoping this will help with that. We'll see. And of course, we always have the police do patrols through there anyway, so we try to catch them when we can. But if you have seen any suspicious activity anywhere, feel free to call the police and report that suspicious activity. And don't forget to lock your cars up. Because when people when they come through neighborhoods, that's what they're looking for, is unlocked cars, and they go through them and steal stuff. It's amazing the number of guns I hear that are stolen out of unlocked cars. Some of them are recovered as far away as Florida and stuff I've seen. So if your gun gets stolen, there's no telling where it's going to go and what crime it's going to be for. So be cautious. Any questions from you, sir? I see you over there in the corner.
Yeah, I just want to know about the A&P tax. What's the plan on that?
We don't have a plan on that.
Good, thank you.
Anything else?
I figured you'd be asking that.
Yeah.
How you really do want to each other.
Every month. Yeah.
You are the special speaker.
can always put it online if we want. We probably have it online too.
You probably
You
want
gonna start down here?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna sit down and watch the special speaker. I'm so excited. Do we need to move any of those pipes in front of you?
Do you have a presentation or anything?
Thank you, Sergeant. No problem, sir. Now you're a public works employee.
All right, so here's our little mock meter and service line setup. So this would be what we call the main corp stop. And then this silver piece in here would be our setter, our meter and register, and then our node, which as we all know is what we're having issues with, and then the service line. And for those that are unaware, from this union up to your house is your responsibility. From there back is our responsibility. We do get some confusion. Different cities, different states have different ordinances and requirements, but that is what City of Bryant is. So inside this little register, you're either going to have a digital or an analog display. If you feel like you want to keep track of your meter reads, you're more than welcome to. We do have some residents that do. So that's a meter.
Can you tell them how much, because the meters don't really read per gallon, they read per 100 gallons, right? Or per 10 gallons.
We have that 100, 1,000. So, but here's another one. A 5/8 meter, which is your typical house meter, if it's left wide open, it's about 10,000 gallons a day. So if you have a really good leak, you can acquire a pretty large bill pretty fast. It may not look like it, but the water kind of hides in the ground. And if you're on a slab house and have a leak, get it taken care of really, really quick.
I know we get a lot of questions, Tim, about water usage and leaks, and how often do you think whenever you're the water billing customer service and they're talking minor leaks, how quickly they add up? How is there a lot of conversation around that? Just
Yeah, so on that's a good point. On these meters, you'll see a little triangle, and that is what we call our leak detector. Now, if you're using water in the house, whether you're taking a shower or running the faucet, it's going to spin. But if you're not using water and that's spinning, that means water's going through this meter and somewhere in your yard, your house, your toilets, it's leaking through. We actually went and met with a resident the other day, and she said, well, it's just spinning really slowly. We said, yeah, but it's spinning like 100 gallons every 3 hours. So, and that was going on for well over 2 weeks. So just because it's spinning slowly doesn't mean you're not using it. I shouldn't say using, having a leak of quite a bit of water. The ladies at the billing office are going to have a standard set of questions. Hey, is it possible you have a leak? Did you actually accidentally leave a hose on, a faucet? When you brush your teeth, do you just leave the water running the whole time, or you just wet your toothbrush? If you take a bath, you got to wait for the hot water to come through in some houses, so you can add up water pretty quick.
what are some common leaks that maybe not really obvious?
Probably the most common one is a slow toilet leak, and everybody always says we don't have one. If you want to find out if you have one, get some dye tablets or Kool-Aid and go ahead and put it in the tank of your toilet and do your toilets individually and let it run for a while or let it sit for a while and see if that dye ends up in the toilet bowl. That means you have one. Just because your toilet flushes 1.5 gallons every time you flush it, now that water just running away. It's only gonna fill up so much and dump back into the sewer system. So
What about like water efficient appliances? Do they make a pretty big impact too?
so all the high efficiency appliances have to meet certain government regulations. So if you afford one, I would do one. The other part of the meter system is you have a single meter and you water your lawn or you wash your cars. We have no way to tell if it's going into the sewer or not. So you will automatically get a sewer charge. We do offer an irrigation meter. It is another charge, but you will only get a water charge. And then you can suspend the account when you're not using it also. And if you have any questions about water stuff, give me a call. More than happy to help.
Okay, Tim, I have a very basic question about your setup here. Where is ground level? Is ground level? Okay,
It should be about here.
so where does the node actually sit? Does it sit above? Oh,
It's
okay.
in there. Yeah, it'll generally sit like that.
Okay.
It's a good question.
So some meter box are a little taller, some are a little shorter, but it should be about right there.
Occasionally, sometimes they're covered in watermelon vines.
Watermelon vines,
Yeah.
grass.
Every now and then a snake.
Yeah, there's a snake. Traffic detection camera. We will get the call often. I need the traffic video from such and such intersection. These do not record. They're strictly for detection.
That is so good to know for me.
Strictly.
All right.
It's the orange sheet. The orange sheet. So if God forbid something happens at an intersection, we don't really have a way to help you if you call us. Like I said, they're not recorded. They set up little zones for detection, and all they do is detect cars or vehicles and pedestrians. That's it. So it's a little misleading when it says camera, I guess. Here's something you hear us talk about a lot, and this is our pipe bursting operation. This is an 8-inch HDPE pipe. What would typically happen is the guys with camera lines that find the existing services, which this would be a new service, but you get the point. And then they dig up the services. They dig 2 pits on each end. They put this big machine down. They run rods through the existing pipe, and then what they'll do is they'll weld this pipe together and drag it back and reconnect your services. It looks like a war zone while the operation is happening, but what it allows us to do is not dig up the entire street. So you still have operating facilities, you still have travel. It cuts down significantly on maintenance and labor costs. And the pipe is going to be good for a lot longer than what's in the ground now. And we're talking years and years and years.
And it's much more efficient to install than it is with trench system as well.
Absolutely. It's significantly safer too. We don't have to put as many people in holes, have as much equipment. So you'll see these guys, like I said, up around the Spring Hill section for quite some time. That was one of the identified areas that need some significant work. They'll be on Stivers for 6 to 9 months starting next year. So if they're there, they're not in your way on purpose. They're just trying to get you some quality sewer.
And most of this we can handle in-house instead of having to hire a contractor to come into the city.
Yep. So the first year we had the pipe bursting put, we covered the cost of what it would cost for a contractor to do it. Each segment that the contractors were doing was well over $70,000. You're only talking 300 feet, and we do it for significantly less than house. Like I said earlier, and it might have been before camera, we purchased about 12,000 feet of this pipe at the beginning of this year. We kind of got a little bird that told us there's going to be a shortage and the prices are going to go up significantly. So since then, we have had vendors come back and try to buy the pipe back from us. So we will be good for at least next year as far as stock, if not into 2023. My little son. We'll go back to track. For those who don't know, we build about 90% of our own signs in-house. So if you see his name's Bryant out there doing signs, he's the only guy. He builds all the signs by himself. He's also our signal guy. So a lot of cities will order signs. We try to save a little cost by building them ourselves, which I think they've been doing for 12 or 15 years now.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Anybody have any questions?
I do better with questions than by myself.
At what point is the node failing?
So we were told they would have a 10-year lifespan. We've seen them fail 2 or 3 years into it. And it's the battery that fails them.
Right, because it actually charges off the generation of water running through the meter?
No, there's no charge. No, so
No charge.
what'll happen is it reports X amount of times a day. And some of them, when it can't get the report through for whatever, whether it be a repeated problem or a problem, it'll constantly try to report. And it's wearing itself out. Now, other ones have just failed for whatever reason.
Now, since they have a battery in them, what is the protocol behind changing the batteries on those?
They actually exchange the whole node. We send it back to you.
Gotcha.
So up until earlier this year, it's pretty much a free exchange with them.
I always wondered how that worked. I always figured they probably had like a small generator inside the.
No, inside the meter itself is a little oscillating disc that sits there, and as the water runs through it, it moves, and that's how it turns the time, or turns the gallons.
Talk a little bit too about, we don't have a street committee, but we do have a,
Meter and they never turn it on, or you don't have the water, or it doesn't run enough to charge batteries.
Sure, yeah.
the water wastewater committee.
Solar.
Talk a little bit about those volunteers and what they do.
We do have a water sewer advisory committee. We meet the first Tuesday of every month at 6:00. Generally, it's updates of what the current projects are going on, the future projects. We got the big ones right now are going to be the water authority and the regional detention for development happening up in the northwest corner of the city. So they'll also take care of leak adjustments. They're the ones who vote to approve or not to approve. You do have to have the proper receipts of the repair. They'll give us some advice or directions to go to, citizen concerns to take care of. What else, Dana?
The water committee. I'm sorry, I was going to what was next. But well, I think the thing I want to stress is there's 2 people from each ward. So if residents want to reach out to them, contact information is on there, and they've got a strong historical reference on all things water and Bryant.
They do. They have a lot of that tribal knowledge, so
They do.
certainly reach out.
They do. Also, street specs. I know we've been working through that with the planning, and our developers have been highly involved, but what do changing our street specs, how does that impact residents? And
So the street specs, there's several changes in it, several updates in it, but the main one I'm interested in is the pavement design. When I say the design of pavement, I'm not talking about how the pavement's made or what the classification of the road is. It's how the road is built to that classification. So we basically have one standard right now, so every road's kind of built the same. So whether it's 1 car, 10 cars, 300 trucks, 2 trucks, they all wear out the same. The new street specs will specify, based pretty much on a traffic count, there's a calculation there of how much asphalt you have to have, aggregate, subgrade, base, and things like that. So you should get a better wear surface for your street, and it should last longer.
And we plan on having a public comment period for residents on this coming up too,
We're
right?
finishing up a document that we can publish for public comment also.
Yes. You have anything, Mayor, that you want to?
I can't think of a thing off the top of my head from Public Works. I think you covered everything very, very well. Unless anybody else has a question for Public Works. If not, then I guess we can be quiet for a minute.
Yeah, I don't-
Move over here.
Yeah.
She doesn't want me talking off screen, which I don't blame her. So I don't think there's anything else. If anybody here is interested and you want to, we can take you on a tour of the wastewater treatment facility. It's a beautiful day to do it. It's not very hot, so the odor won't be so bad.
Summertime's prime time.
Summertime's the best time for it, I promise you, because then you get the full effect.
It's like a
But
Immersive
other than that,
experience.
we're going to be here. We'll be here for a few more minutes, and I appreciate everybody that's out there. And again, congrats to the Hornets.
Yeah.
And just so everybody knows, Army and Air Force play at 10 or 10:30 this morning. The Razorbacks play at 3. Hopefully they'll is it 3?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you held up 4. Hopefully they'll win. It'd be cool if they did. And then LSU plays tonight, which they're playing Alabama, so they'll lose, and that's okay. It is what it is. You know when you got a good team, you know when you don't. LSU's not a good team this year, and that's okay. That's all right. As long as our Razorbacks win, Bryant Hornets win, it's a win-win for me right now. So with that, I'm going to say I will see y'all later, and thank you very much for sitting in, and we'll talk to you next month on Coffee with the Mayor, and who knows, I might do something really cool.